A billionaire discovered the wedding of his life was built on a lie. But the truth he uncovered was far more dangerous, and it only began with the woman he loved.
You ever notice how some promises sound like music until you read the fine print? My dad called me on Christmas Eve and said, I discovered something terrible about her, and the tree lights looked like sirens instead of stars. I was supposed to wrap one last present and pretend the world was simple, but his voice cracked down the middle. We need to talk. Now. I'm listening, I said, even though I wasn't ready. There's a plan, he said. It starts the moment I say I do, and it ends with everything gone. Define everything, I said, already knowing. My name, which is another way to say wealth. I wish I could tell you I played it cool, but the truth is my chest clenched the way it did when I was 10 and realized grown-ups can lose. Who told you? Does it matter? He said. I have documents, screenshots, a trail that loops back to a single destination. That sounds like intent, I said. It sounds like love with math and someone else's calculator. Do you want to know all of it? I asked, because once I open this door, nothing will be cute again. He wants the truth, he said, no matter what it costs. Courage hurts. Cowardice charges interest. Meet me in 30 minutes, he said, alone. I left the house like it might change its mind if I looked back. The air had that cold, clean snap the Pacific Northwest gives you when it wants you awake. My dad's penthouse stared down at the city with the same calm he wears to board meetings, like weather is a rumor. He opened the door before I knocked. His face was all angles and decision. Start with what you can prove, he said. I can prove timing and patterns and rehearsed smiles that glitch when you ask the wrong question. Show me, he said. So I did. 3 nights ago, she changed her schedule twice in 1 hour. The second switch took her to a private dining room that wasn't on the reservation list. The bill was comped by a foundation whose endowment spiked last quarter after a 3-year flatline. The chair of that foundation sits on a trust that intersects with a shell company that, guess what, only wakes up when someone's about to get married. Coincidence, he said, like a test. Maybe, but the text she deleted fast enough to leave a ghost on the lock screen, that one wasn't a coincidence. His jaw flexed. What did it say? We don't need to wait until the honeymoon if the signature happens at the rehearsal. He closed his eyes, and not his words, he said, someone feeding them to her. You can't outsource a promise, I said. He opened his eyes and the steel was back. I asked an auditor I trust to look at 2 accounts. The first is clean, the second looks like charity wearing perfume. Where does it go? I asked. Same place your shell company points, same place the foundation nods. That it isn't a line, I said. It's a loop. He nodded, and it tightens the second I say I do. Then don't, I said. It's not that simple, he said. It never is. But simple and right aren't synonyms. He poured water like it could steady a room. I need to hear it from you, he said. Do you think she loves me? Yes, I said, and watched his mouth start to soften. But love isn't the only thing in the room with her. What else? He asked. Debt. Not the kind you pay with money, the kind you pay with obedience.
He stared at me like I'd said a word he used to know and forgot. Who holds it? Someone who taught her to smile like an invoice, I said. He laughed, one bitter exhale. I taught you metaphors, he said. I learned metaphors to survive math. He said, show me more. So I showed him the brunch where she toasted to security, not joy. The florist visit where she negotiated down on petals but up on privacy. The prenup conversation where she called it a formality, then circled the clause that moved the needle without blinking. The night she told me, your father deserves someone who understands legacy. I asked, and accountability? She smiled and said, that too, like it came in a gift basket. Tell me why you waited to bring this to me, my dad said. Because I wanted to be wrong, I said. And because if I was right, it's not just your heart that breaks. Whose then? He asked. Mine, I said. I liked her. She made you laugh with your whole face. He looked away. That's not nothing, he said. No, I said. It's the best something. He rubbed his temple. I want to hear her side, he said. You should, but not alone. Tomorrow, Christmas Day. You really want to wear a wire under a sweater? I asked. He almost smiled. Do you have a better tradition? I said, just one. The truth before dessert. We didn't sleep much. Dawn put a new coat on the city and pretended it was fresh. My dad made coffee like it could negotiate with reality. He said, you know there are 10 ways this goes wrong. I said, there are 11 ways it goes wrong if you do nothing. He said, say the line? What line? The one you say when you want me to jump, he said. Jump now. We'll build the parachute on the way down. He nodded once. Call her, he said. I did. Can you come by? I got him a present I need you to see first. That's sweet. I'll be there in an hour. 15 minutes, I said. A pause. 15, she agreed.
We set 3 chairs like we were polite. When she walked in, she looked perfect, winter bright, camera ready. She kissed my dad's cheek and said, Merry Christmas, and I watched his eyes like a seismograph. I have something for you, he said, holding out a small velvet box. She opened it and found a key. What's this? She laughed. A metaphor and a question. What question? She asked, still playing light. What does it open? He asked. She turned it in the light. A safe, she said. Which one? He asked. She smiled. The important one. He nodded. So you know which safe is the important one. Her smile thinned a millimeter. Is this a game? It's an audit, I said. Her eyes flicked to me, then back to him. Why is he here? She asked, too calm. Because love isn't an alibi, my dad said. I don't like this, she said, voice smaller. Me neither, but I like being robbed even less. Robbed? She repeated like a rehearsal line she didn't plan to use yet. That's a big word. It's a small loop, he said, and slid a folder across the table. She didn't touch it. What am I looking at? The part where Charity learns to launder, I said. She laughed, high and light. Come on, she said. This is absurd. Sure, absurd like a text that says, we don't need to wait until the honeymoon if the signature happens at the rehearsal. Color moved in her cheeks. You read my messages? No, I said. I read your reflection in the glass. You deleted fast, but not faster than physics. I don't have to sit here, she said, standing. You don't, but if you leave now, you're saying the quiet part loud. She sat. Fine, she said. You want my truth? Yes, he said. I grew up in rooms where love and money shared a bed. Sometimes love woke up with bruises. Money never did. When I met you, I believed I could write a kinder ending. Someone else believed I owed them the first chapter. Who? I asked. Does it matter? She said. You've already decided. Say the name, my dad said gently. She looked at him, then at the key in the box. He calls himself a consultant. I called him an exit sign. He doesn't care what you lose as long as he wins. Did you plan to take everything? I asked. No, she said. Just enough to pay the bill love never sees. Whose bill? He asked. Mine, she said, and the word looked heavy in her mouth. And my family's. You could have told me, he said. And said what? That I came with a receipt? He flinched. Yes, he said, you could have said exactly that. She laughed again, but it broke. Men like you always say that, until the number is bigger than your pride. I'm not asking you to defend a number. I'm asking you to defend a plan that only works if I'm blind. It doesn't just work if you're blind. It works if you trust me. That's worse, he said softly. Silence opened like a trap door. I needed air. I stood and walked to the window. The city looked innocent in winter. Glass doesn't judge. What happens now? She asked. Now I decide if Christmas is a wedding or a reckoning. Is there a third option? She asked. Yes, he said. A conversation. With who? She asked. The man you called a consultant. Invite him for dessert. Her eyes widened. You don't want him in your home, she said. I already have a stranger in my home. One more won't spoil the mood. He won't come, she said. He will, my dad said and slid his phone across to her. Use mine. She stared at it, then at him. You don't understand who he is. Explain it to me, he said, before he does. She dialed. It's me, she said. Change of plan. We're doing it now. A beat. Yes, she said. Penthouse. Another beat. He knows, she said. She hung up. 15 minutes, she said. Everyone's punctual today, I said. Everyone thinks timing is control, my dad said. Sometimes it is, she said. Sometimes it's a countdown, I said. We waited like people in a lobby. When the doorbell rang, my dad didn't flinch. He opened the door and let the consultant in. He was the kind of polite that dulls knives. His smile measured the room in dollars. Beautiful view, he said. Depends on where you look, my dad said. Shall we? The consultant asked, gesturing at the table like it belonged to him. Let's, my dad said, and didn't sit first. The consultant sat across from my dad and angled his body to include her. Exclusion as a courtesy. I'm here to facilitate happiness, he said. Say the other word, I said. Security, he said. Say the third word, I said. Compliance, he said, still smiling. Good, I said. Now we're speaking the same weather. I think we got off on the wrong foot, he said. This is a love story that needs proper paperwork. This is a trust story that doesn't, my dad said. Trust is expensive, the consultant said, softly. Paper is cheaper. Honesty is cheapest, my dad said. Honesty is volatile, the consultant said, and markets punish volatility. Not at my table, my dad said. Here, markets sit down. The consultant folded his hands. Here's what happens, he said. You marry, we execute the plan as designed, no surprises, everyone gets what they need. You mean you get what you need, I said. I don't need much, just movement. I like stillness. It's harder to move me than most. That's why we're here, to make movement feel like staying put. Show him the loop, I said to my dad. He slid the folder over. The consultant didn't blink. Nice work, he said, but partial. Complete enough to say no, my dad said. You can say no, or you can say yes and rewrite the ending. Rewrite it how? My dad asked. You keep her, he nodded to her with the gentlest malice I've ever seen. We keep the mechanism, everyone smiles at the reception. You're making the wrong pitch, I said. He doesn't buy smiles. He buys outcomes, the consultant said, and this outcome pins the tail on the right donkey. I laughed. Try a different animal, I said. This one kicks. The consultant turned to her. He's spirited, he said. I can work with spirited. You won't work with anyone, my dad said. Here's my counter. The consultant smiled, finally interested. I love that word, counter. You walk away. You delete every image and document you hold. You surrender the mechanism. You disappear. You walk away, my dad said. You delete every image and document you hold. You surrender the mechanism. You disappear. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. I watched the consultant weigh 3 different smiles and pick the one that said he'd been here before and won. Disappear is a romantic word, he replied. I prefer retire. Call it what you like, my dad said. You're done. The consultant folded his hands. You're certain. I don't confuse certainty with courage, my dad said. I have both. Then here's my answer, the consultant said, and the air thinned by a degree you could taste. No. He stood, the way fog stands. My father didn't blink. Then I'll say it again, Dad said. You're done. Nothing ends, the consultant said. It only migrates. He turned to her, voice softer. We had an agreement. She looked at him and then at the velvet box with the key. We had a threat, she said. I mistook it for a life raft. Careful, the consultant said. Kindness is a weapon here. Kindness is a receipt. I'm keeping mine. The consultant's smile didn't move, but his eyes did. The tiniest flick to the hallway camera, like he was confirming the angle. You think you're the only one who keeps mirrors? He said. Step out, Dad said, opening the door. The consultant paused on the threshold. One tip, he murmured. You have a blind spot. You just stared at it and said, I love you, in your head. He looked at me. He thinks it about both of you. He left. The door clicked like a gavel. Silence bloomed. He'll hit back, I said. I'm counting on it, my dad said. It's easier to block a punch you can see. She exhaled. You believe me now. I believe the loop. Believing you takes longer. She nodded once, like she'd expected that price tag. There's more, she said. Of course, I said. He isn't the top. He's a hinge. Who's the door? I asked. She hesitated, then took the key from the velvet box and set it between us. Someone who thinks history is a business plan. Name. Not on Christmas Eve, she said. He loves the symbolism. Then ruin his holiday, I said. Her mouth twitched. You sound like me before I learned to ration hope. Consider this a relapse, I said. My dad poured water like a ritual. Tomorrow, at the ceremony, I will decide in front of everyone. He'll expect a show. I'll give him a mirror. You're really going to stand up there and improvise a vow? I asked. I've improvised entire companies, he said. Vows are just smaller corporations with worse lawyers. She almost smiled. If you had met me 5 years earlier, this would have gone differently. If I had met you 5 years earlier, Dad said, I might have ruined you by being generous to the wrong part of your life. She looked at her hands. He's not going to let me go, she said. You'll let you go, Dad said. I barely slept. Around 3 a.m., a message pinged my phone from an unknown number. You made a mistake, the kind you posture through until the bill arrives. I typed, deleted, typed again. Come deliver it yourself. No reply. I left the phone face down and listened to the building breathe. Morning arrived like a dare. The venue was brighter than any truth we had. Guests took their seats, faces oiled for joy. The officiant smiled the way professionals do when they rent out their gravitas. I stood off to the side, the way shadows stand. You already know how he chose. He offered kindness like an axe with ribbon on it. He gave her the doorway out and the map back in. She stepped through the first and promised to search for the second. People clapped like they'd been spared and didn't know from what. We made it out of the room with dignity intact and nerves lit. In the hallway, the air felt thinner, lighter, somethinger. That's when the elevators chimed and spit out a package runner with a clipboard. Delivery for you, he said to me. Brown paper, no return address, a red wax seal with a small notch missing, as if someone bit it once and decided ceremony needed teeth. Who sent this? I asked. He shrugged. A guy with a scarf, he said. You'd know. We didn't. Inside, a single photograph. My father, from 20 years earlier, exiting a courthouse flanked by 2 attorneys and a woman in sunglasses I had never seen before. On the back, in neat block letters, you inherited his blind spot. I felt the floor tilt. Dad, I said, handing it over. He stared at the photo long enough for the paper to warm. That was the day I funded a clinic. For who? I asked. For people who can't afford lawyers. Then why do you look like you just beat a case? I asked. Because I had. A different morning, a different floor. What case? He didn't answer right away. A partner tried to steal a company out from under me, he said. He lost. He also taught me the shape of certain knives. And the woman? I asked. The woman was the messenger. She brought me the first proof. Which means someone is telling you you're in a sequel, I said. He turned the photo over again, tracing the ink. He thinks he's original, Dad said. He's not. Is it the consultant? No, the consultant doesn't do memory. He does momentum. This is someone who collects first chapters. Door guy, I said. Door guy, he agreed. We stepped outside because air is different when you change rooms. She caught up to us, eyes narrow. He was in the crowd, she said. Who? I asked. She dipped her chin toward the street. Door guy. What does he look like? I asked. Like a favor you can't afford not to accept, she said, and then you owe the rest of your life to interest. Did he see us? My dad asked. He sees everything, she said. That's his favorite lie. My phone buzzed again. A photo. This time of me, from last summer, laughing with my father on a ferry, a gull mid-flight between us. Caption, beautiful view. Depends on where you look. He was listening last night, I said. He was listening before we were, Dad said. Then we changed the channel, I said. How, she asked. We make noise he can't monetize, I said. Meaning, Dad asked. We go boring. For 24 hours. No calls, no texts, no moves. Let him pace. Let him predict. Then we jump sideways. He smiled. You grew up with Wi-Fi, he said. Guilty, I said. We tried. We really did. We ate leftovers. We watched a game. We pretended silence could be furniture. At midnight, the intercom buzzed. Front desk, a voice said. You have a visitor. No, Dad said. It's a priest. Says it's urgent. We looked at each other. That's theatrical enough to be him, I said. Or someone he hired. She said, send him up. The priest had the posture of a man who gives absolution and asks for none. He set down a small leather case like it might be a heart that learned manners. I'm not here for confession, he said. I'm here about a contract. You're not a priest, I said. I am. I'm also an attorney. 2 religions, Dad said. Pick one. Tonight I serve the one with candles, he said, and sat down without being asked. You're in danger of doing something noble, he told my father. Nobility is expensive in this market. I can afford it, Dad said. You can't afford the sequel. They're going to move on her, not you. She went still. Why, she asked. Because you broke formation, he said. He doesn't tolerate freelance. He'll hurt me, she asked. He'll hurt someone who looks like you. Softer blow, same lesson. Who are you warning me on behalf of, Dad asked. On behalf of the only thing that outlives any mechanism. God, I asked. Regret, he said. He opened the leather case and removed a single page. He drafted a contingency, he said. If the wedding didn't close, the next move was to close something else. What? She asked. A clinic, he said. My father went very quiet. Which clinic, he asked. The one that bears your name. The one you fund for people who can't afford lawyers. I felt cold crawl up my spine like a careful animal. How? I asked. Board removal, then a restructuring that looks like a gift and bleeds like a gut wound. Who's on the board? Dad asked. You and 3 people who believe in you more than the mechanism does. Names, Dad said. The priest hesitated, then slid a second page across. I recognized 2. The third I didn't. A quiet woman who ran a clinic room like a war hospital and a library at once. They'll push them out first, the priest said. You'll be too busy looking at yourself to notice. Why are you telling us this, I asked. Because I'm tired of blessing caskets that should have been budgets, he said. Stop this, or give it your name and call it faithful. Dad stood. We won't let this happen, he said. You can't stop all of it, the priest said. But you can pull 3 screws. How? I asked. The priest smiled, small and real. He told me, by being boring like you said, and then jumping sideways. Tomorrow at noon, all 3 board members meet for a holiday lunch in a dining room that hasn't changed its wallpaper since 1979. Go there, don't talk to them, talk to the maitre d'. Why? I asked. He's the only person in the building who isn't for sale, the priest said. And you, Dad asked, are you for sale? Tonight, the priest said, rising, I'm for mercy. He picked up the leather case and left as if the hallway respected him personally. We stared at the door for a beat longer than necessary. You believe him, I asked. I believe the wallpaper, Dad said. Nobody lies about 1979. She laughed once, then covered her mouth like it was rude to have hope in front of guests. If we save the clinic, he'll escalate, she said. Then we save something else he wants, I said, and make him multitask. What else does he want? Dad asked. The part of you that doubts, I said. He wants to pay it rent. I evict tenants, Dad said. Not this one. This one you forgive. He looked at me the way fathers look at sons when they see a new angle on an old room. No vows, he said, but I can do that. We slept in shifts. Morning came like a verdict with a good lawyer. At noon, we walked into a dining room that smelled like steak and keeping your word. The maitre d' looked at us as if we were a weather system. Can I help you? He asked. We're here to prevent a tragedy, the kind that gets named after a donor. The maitre d' stared for a polite second, then tipped his head to a corner table where 3 people sat with menus they didn't intend to read. He didn't lead us to them. He led us to the service door. I can give you 3 minutes in the pantry. After that, someone will arrive with a different kind of menu, he said. We squeezed past shelves of ambition in jars. The maitre d' handed Dad a folded slip. This buys you a day. He said, don't spend it on speeches. What is it? I asked. An agenda, he said. the kind that ruins agendas. Footsteps, voices. We left the pantry, and the maitre d' became furniture again. Dad glanced at the slip, a time, a conference call ID, and a name that wasn't on any board documents we'd seen. "Who's that?" I whispered. "Someone who answers to door guy," Dad said. "He's moving the meeting," I said. "No," Dad said, eyes bright. "He's moving us." "Into a trap?" she asked. "Into a mirror," Dad said. We left before dessert. In the car, Dad dialed the conference bridge and hit mute. Voices slid in. Familiar. Unfamiliar. A chair called to order. An item titled Governance Continuity. A vote that smelled like a funeral. And then another voice, smooth as unbroken glass. "Before we proceed, a small correction. The generous founder has tendered his resignation." Dad closed his eyes. "They forged a letter," he said. I unmuted. "No," I said. "He didn't." Silence. Then, "Who is this?" Glass voice asked. "The generous founder," Dad said, "and he's not in a generous mood."
"Identify yourself," Glass voice said, smooth and bored, like a maitre d' at the end of a shift. "I'm the man whose signature you forged," my dad said, "and the man who funds the thing you're pretending to rescue." A rustle of papers, the legal kind. "There seems to be confusion," a different voice offered, warm, female, professional. "We received formal notice. You received theater," Dad cut in. "Here's the documentary. I'm on this call. I did not resign. Any action taken under that lie is void. Now put the agenda on hold and answer a simpler question." Silence. Then the slight buzz of someone deciding whether to be honest or efficient. "Who are you?" I asked, unmuted, speaking to Glass voice. "Because you don't sit on the board, you sit above it." "Observation," he said, amused. "Proceed." "You wanted the wedding because it's clean and public. You wanted the clinic because it's quiet and defenseless. 2 levers, 1 outcome, compliance. But you missed something." "And that is?" Glass voice asked. "People," I said. "They answered the door, and today the door answers back." He chuckled. "You're spirited," he said. He mentioned that. "Who?" I asked. "Your father," he said. My dad stiffened, then relaxed, then did neither. "You don't know me," he said. "I know how your kind breathe, through other people's faith. Then inhale this," Dad said. "We're staying. The board stays, the clinic stays, and you will evolve," Glass voice said, bored again. "Enjoy your day." The line clicked dead. The other voices shuffled, recovered. "Shall we?" someone began. "You will adjourn," my dad said, voice firm, "and reconvene with counsel, with me on the calendar, and with the agenda published 48 hours in advance, not slipped under a door." "Understood," the warm professional said. "Adjourned." We hung up. The car felt small with 3 versions of relief in it. "He knows you," I told Dad. "Or he studied the outline and decided to fill in the margins. He knows enough to be lazy. That's his tell." "She forged your resignation," she said, eyes still scanning the street. "He can forge your voice next. Then we show up in person," Dad said. "Paper is easy to forge. Presence isn't." A text chimed. Unknown number. He's right. Presence is expensive. A second bubble popped up before I could reply. A short video of the clinic lobby. Empty, peaceful, the kind of quiet that makes hospitals holy. The camera panned to a small plaque, my father's name, etched like a promise. The video ended on the front door as 2 silhouettes slid against frosted glass. "He's at the clinic," I said. "Or he recorded it last week," she said. "Either way," Dad said, "we go." Traffic opened like it respected what we were doing. We hit the lobby in 14 minutes and 50 seconds because adrenaline knows math. The 2 silhouettes belonged to the head nurse and the facilities manager, laughing about something small, human. No raiders, no coup, just a holiday shift that wasn't ruined yet. The head nurse saw us and lit up with the kind of smile people earn with casseroles and midnight phone calls. "You came," she said. "It's quiet, which means in 5 minutes it won't be." "We like boring," I said. She gave me a look that said, "Boring keeps people alive." We did a walkthrough. Dad checked the security logs, I checked the phones. She checked the pharmacy lock and showed us a clipboard that noted every controlled substance like a psalm. "We've got eyes," she said, tapping a dome camera. "And we've got better eyes. She touched her temple. Good, Dad said. Keep both open. A volunteer rolled in a cart of donated blankets and cookies. Her name tag said Renna. She hesitated when she saw my father, then grinned. Can I say something weird? She asked him. Please, he said. I was mad at you, she said, honest and bright, for being one of those guys with your name on the wall. Then I met 3 people whose rent got paid because that wall existed. Now I'm mad at you for making me like you. Dad laughed softly. I'll take it, even on days I don't deserve it. You deserve it today, she said. She lowered her voice. Somebody called the board office this morning pretending to be you, asked for the security codes for the annex. The receptionist put him on hold and called me instead. She winked. We still use paper in the annex. Never been happier you love pens, I said. We left after an hour of quiet that felt like a victory parade. Back in the car, she exhaled. He's getting sloppy. He's getting impatient. Impatience breaks expensive toys. The phone buzzed. Another unknown text. Just an address and a time, 5:30 p.m. A gallery in a neighborhood that used to be industrial and now sold coffee that apologized for itself. He wants a meeting, I said. Or a frame, she said. Good. We'll give him both. We arrived early and walked past art that looked like arguments with paint. The gallery had the kind of lighting that makes even guilt presentable. A man in a black turtleneck approached with the sincerity of a curated playlist. Welcome, he said. Can I show you something rare? We already brought it. He led us to a back room that smelled like wood and new mistakes. Glass Voice stood there without glass, just a person at last. He was shorter than his tone, older than his audacity, and more ordinary than the damage he did. Thank you for coming, he said, unbothered. I wasn't sure you knew how to follow directions that weren't yours.
We make exceptions for thieves, Dad said. Strong word, he said, smiling. You should try embezzler. It's got more syllables. We're not here for vocabulary, I said. No, he said. You're here for a choice, the one you offered her. He looked at her. Walk away with dignity, he said, or stay and start with truth. It's a lovely performance, and it worked. On the room, on the cameras, on the guests who wanted a story they could retell at New Year's.
We make exceptions for thieves, Dad said. Strong word, he said, smiling. You should try embezzler. It's got more syllables. We're not here for vocabulary, I said. No, he said. You're here for a choice, the one you offered her. He looked at her. Walk away with dignity, he said, or stay and start with truth. It's a lovely performance, and it worked. On the room, on the cameras, on the guests who wanted a story they could retell at New Year's. What about me? Dad asked. You, he said. You wanted to look in the mirror and see a man who chose kindness over control. Congratulations, you did. What did you want? Dad asked. He smiled with real teeth. To see whether you were capable of surprising me. And, I asked. I'm disappointed, he said. You did the noble thing. The noble thing is predictable. Predictable is monetizable. Then try this, Dad said. I'm not paying you. You already did, he said, amused. You paid with the only currency that matters at your altitude, uncertainty. I stepped forward. Let's skip to the part where you threaten a foundation you don't understand, I said, and we show you how many windows you have. He looked at me with almost affection. You make a lot of noise, he said. If I were your age, I'd do the same. But I'm not, and you won't be. Soon. He gestured to the walls, where photographs hung in neat rows. Cityscapes, portraits, scenes built for auction catalogs. In the center hung a black and white of a courthouse entrance from 20 years ago. My father stepping into the frame, head up, jaw set. The same photo from the package. Only here, a second figure in the far background was clear. The woman in sunglasses angled toward the lens, holding a slim envelope. Her other hand was linked with a child's. Why show me this? Dad asked. Because I like symmetry, he said, and because I'm not the first person to use your blind spot. Who was? I asked. He walked to the photo and tapped the corner where the child stood. The messenger brought you proof and a present. You kept the proof. You sent back the present. Enough, I said. No, Dad said softly. Let him finish. You built a life where loyalty meant pushing people out of your periphery. It kept you safe. It kept everyone else replaceable. She understood that about you before she understood anything else. She understood I could be manipulated, and she tried. You both tried, he said, without malice. You wanted to be the man who saves. She wanted to be the woman who can't be saved unless you are there. It's a flattering puzzle. I'm bored, Dad said. Good. Then let's play a new game. He nodded to the gallery assistant, who dimmed the lights and brought up a projection. Emails, transfers, a map with routes that looked like veins. This is the mechanism you think I own. I don't. It owns me. I just collect rent. Who's the landlord? I asked. He smiled. I told you. History. I want a name, Dad said. You want a lever, he corrected. I'll give you one if you'll give me one. What lever? I asked. Rescind your kindness, he said to Dad. Marry her tonight. Close the loop. I'll vanish for a year and leave your clinic alone. You're not serious, I said.
I'm always serious, he said. Humor doesn't scale. Dad laughed, a dry sound with clean edges. You want me to marry her to buy a ceasefire? No, he said. I want you to marry her because it will entertain me. The ceasefire is for the clinic. I'm not cruel. You're efficient, I said. Efficiency is cruelty with better branding. He tilted his head, pleased. You see why I like him? Stop liking my son, Dad said. Impossible, he said lightly. She finally spoke. I won't be your condition, she said to glass voice. I'm done being currency. He looked at her without warmth or hate. Then you're a liability, he said. And liabilities are fertilizer. Get out, I said. He didn't move. You think you win by ejecting me, he said. You win by outlasting me. How long? Dad asked. Until I forget your taste, he said, or until someone louder walks in. How about now? A new voice said from the doorway. We turned. The priest stood there again, collar straight, case in hand. The gallery assistant looked rattled, like someone had walked a sermon into a wine tasting. Glass voice sighed. Father, he said, you're interrupting art. I'm interrupting vanity. Yours, his, mine, the priest said. He looked at my father. He wants a wedding, he said. Give him a funeral. For what? Dad asked. For the mechanism, the priest said calmly. Publicly, with witnesses who can't afford to clap. You think he cares about public shame? Glass voice asked. I think he cares about not being bored. Boredom hates funerals. Where? I asked. The priest opened his case and handed my dad a printed program for a memorial service at the clinic's chapel. A name I didn't know, a time, 7 p.m., tonight. Who is this? Dad asked, tapping the name. A volunteer who died last winter. She loved quiet rooms and loud justice. The family couldn't afford a service then. We're doing it now. That's exploitation, Glass Voice said, amused. No, it's restitution. You took her hours. We'll take your audience. He looked at Dad. Stand up there and eulogize the thing that nearly destroyed her shift and your name. Name what you won't allow. Invite every donor, nurse, lawyer, janitor, and patient. Take your clinic out of his catalog. That won't stop him, Glass Voice said. It will starve him. He's hungry for silence wrapped in applause. Don't give him either. Dad folded the program carefully like it was a flag. We'll do it, he said. Glass Voice looked genuinely intrigued. You surprised me, he said. Once. Once is enough, Dad said. We left. Outside, the winter evening felt sharper, like the day had been honed. In the car, she sat forward, elbows on knees. He'll try to flip it. He'll show up with cameras and pretend he's the one giving. Then we outgive him. No stage, just names. Names, Dad repeated, thinking. Yes, names. We spent an hour on the phone, calling, texting, summoning, apologizing, inviting. People said yes like they were waiting to be asked to fight something other than each other. At 6:57, the chapel was full. At 7:03, the hallway was fuller. At 7:10, the fire code was nervous. The priest stepped to the front and nodded to my dad. "Speak," he said. My father can command a room by accident. This time he did it on purpose. I almost gave my name to something that eats names. Not because I'm weak, because I'm tired. Tired men are dangerous. A murmur, the agreeing kind. He said, "I'm not tired tonight. I'm awake. And I'm telling you this. If you ever see my signature on a document that shrinks this place or the people who keep it alive, it's forged. If you ever get a call from my office asking for a favor that smells like fear, hang up. If a consultant tells you he works for me, he doesn't." A hand rose. It belonged to the quiet board member whose name I hadn't known until that day. "What if he tells us he works for history?" she asked. "Then tell him we work for stories. They keep better records." Applause. Not the polished kind, the kind you hear at 3 a.m. when someone's pulse returns. Glassvoice stood in the back, of course. He smiled like a postcard. When the applause ended, he clapped twice, slow, appreciative, bored. He turned and left. The door didn't slam, it decided. After, people came up to my dad's arm like it was a railing. She stood beside me and watched the line. "He's not done," she whispered. "I know," I whispered back. "But he's hungry, not fed. Big difference." We followed my dad into a small side room that smelled of coffee and purpose. The priest poured 3 paper cups. "You drew blood," he said. "He'll lick the wound and tell himself he likes the taste." The screen showed orange eating black and pretending it was holy. Unit 317, the ticker crawled like it wanted to be subtle and failed. I was already on my feet when my dad called. "I'm on my way," he said. "Me too," I answered. "Don't go alone." "I'm not," he said. "No more solo heroics." By the time we reached the storage facility, the night had teeth. Fire trucks choked the entrance, hoses arced like someone had learned calligraphy with water. Smoke rose in a neat column, disciplined destruction. A woman in a neon vest pointed us back. "Client, stay beyond the tape," she said, practiced. "The unit," my dad said, voice steady. 317. She glanced at a clipboard. "Unlucky row," she said. "The fire jumped, we're containing." "Cause?" I asked. "Electrical," she said, which is what people write when they don't want to write. Curiosity. The priest arrived, collar tucked into his coat. She stood beside him, breathing through her nose like someone who learned calm in a storm. Eli pulled up in his truck and jumped out before the engine sighed. "What did they burn?" he asked. "Evidence, or wanted us to think so." He nodded. "Then let's assume the opposite." We watched. We waited. We invented a future that didn't need those boxes, then admitted we still wanted them. After an hour, the blaze gave up its hobby. A firefighter walked to the tape and lifted it a few inches for us, a small kindness. "No entry," he said, "but you can look." We followed him to the row. Our unit's door was a mouth with bad news on its breath. Inside, the boxes that had looked so tidy now folded into themselves, labels curled, edges melted into biography. The metal lockbox lay warped and open, emptied earlier by us, a blessing we didn't have to pretend we planned. "Storage is an illusion," the firefighter said gently. "You don't save things there, you stage goodbyes." We thanked him. We left. The air at the curb felt like a verdict that had learned manners. My dad leaned against Eli's truck and closed his eyes. He wanted us to run here, so we'd stop running somewhere else. "Where else should we be?" I asked. "Home," my dad said. "All of us." We drove back in a small caravan that made the city feel navigable. In the kitchen, we took inventory, the original certificate and the second letter now with Eli. The clinic, alive, loud with gratitude. The forged resignation, caught and mocked. The wedding, replaced by something braver than promises, boundaries. Our blind spots, named and put on a leash. "Now what?" I asked. "Now we sleep," the priest said. "After we lock the doors," she added. We did. We slept, badly but honestly. Morning came with a bruise of light and a coffee that earned its keep. The librarian texted at 7:03 a.m., meeting requests 10 o'clock boardroom, full house, no surprises on agenda. A second text, Brought donuts. People understand donuts. I sent back a heart and a thumb we hadn't earned yet, but planned to. Before we left, my dad took the velvet box from the drawer and set it on the table. He said, "This used to be a threat, now it's a reminder." Of what? I asked. He said, "Keys without doors are just souvenirs." At the clinic, the board gathered with the energy of people who almost lost something and want to celebrate by working. The warm professional, the quiet librarian, the head nurse in a blazer that didn't change her authority, the facilities manager in a clean shirt that made him look like he'd forgive a lot and forget nothing, the volunteer Rinna with a notebook, and a handful of others whose names I wanted to learn before we asked them anything. The meeting began, and for once the words sounded like oxygen. Rescind fraudulent notices, reaffirm governance, publish minutes, audit the endowment for perfume, establish a donor firewall. No consultant can speak for a checkbook. My dad spoke last. He didn't make a speech. He made a promise without the word promise. He said, "I'll show up when you call. I'll leave when you tell me you're tired." Rinna raised her hand. "That line is new," she said, smiling at Eli. "I'm full of them," Eli said quietly. Afterwards, in the corridor, Glass voice stood again, because of course he did. No cameras this time, no audience, just a man waiting to be interesting. He said, "You did a good job," almost sincere. "We didn't hire you," my dad said. "You will, or you'll hire the next me. We're like weeds, you can mow. Or we can plant trees," the librarian said, walking past him. He watched her go. "She'll be a problem," he said to nobody. "That's why she's perfect," I said. He turned back to my father. "Final invitation. Not a deal, a dare." "We don't take dares," my dad said. "You take this one. Public debate, you and me, stage, mics, a moderator who thinks objectivity is a hobby. Topic, do institutions need gatekeepers to survive?" "You want a podium," I said. "I want the mirror," he said. "You've been using it, let me." My father considered. He said, "I like stages. They make liars tired." Glass voice's smile creased up the edges. "1 week," he said. "Bring your son. He's a better storyteller." "Bring your landlord," I said. He laughed, a real sound. He said, "If you knew his name, you'd be more polite." "I know enough," I said. "He's history with an appetite." He nodded, like a teacher does when a student guesses close enough to pass. He said, "See you," and left with the self-respect of a man who's used to museums and detours.
We didn't wait a week. We picked the venue, the chapel again, because it loves acoustics that obey meaning. We picked the moderator, the head nurse, because she asked questions like sutures. We picked the audience, anyone whose life touches the clinic, which is to say, the city. We sent the invites with a line my father wrote. "Come watch us argue about gates and who holds them." "Why are we feeding him?" I asked as we set chairs. "We're not," my dad said. "We're feeding them." Day of. The room filled with faces that mattered. Glass voice took the stage like a man who believes furniture owes him posture. The head nurse opened with a question that didn't care for his philosophy degree. "Prove to me gatekeepers keep people safe," she said. "Without a gate, you get flood. Without a door," she said, "you get prison." He adjusted, smiled, told a story about a charity that collapsed when it let emotion lead. My dad answered with a story about a family that collapsed when it let consultants lead. An hour in, the room had decided 2 things. My father can talk without selling, and Glass voice can sell without talking. The head nurse asked the final question. "If you could change one law, which?" "None," he said. "I change people." The room chilled a degree. "Me," my dad said, "I'd change the one that lets foundations own silence." Applause. Not for the line, for the idea. Glass voice stood, bowed as if acknowledging a teacher, then stepped off stage and out a side door like he needed air with fewer witnesses. I followed, because someone had to. Outside, he lit a cigarette he didn't plan to smoke. He said, "I lost the room." Curious rather than wounded. I said, "You lost the mirror." He flicked ash that didn't exist.
You know what I hate about your father? He asked. Everything, I said. He's not boring. He said. That makes him expensive. Find a cheaper hobby, I said. He glanced sideways. He'll forgive you faster than you forgive him. For what? I asked. For being human, he said. You think you like that in other people? You don't. Not yet. You like stories more. You eat them, I said. He smiled. Compliments will get you invited. Not in, just to the door. Close it, I said. Not my door, not my key. He walked away, not triumphant, not defeated, preoccupied, which scared me more. Men like him make their best arrangements when they're alone with their calendar. Inside, people lingered, the way they do after something true happens in public. The head nurse hugged my dad with clinical brevity. She said, "You did good. Now go home and drink water." We did. At the kitchen table, my dad laid out 3 things: the original certificate, the second letter, the velvet box. He looked at Eli. "You still want lungs?" he asked. "More than ever," Eli answered. "Then breathe with us," my dad said. "I will. On the days I can, and on the days I can't, I'll call." "Deal," my dad said. We ate dinner like people who survived a story and didn't trust the credits. Between bites, my phone buzzed. A calendar invite. Title, Handover. Location, a public library branch that looked like it taught mercy to paper. Time, tomorrow 3 p.m. The sender, the librarian. Attached. He's ready. Who? I asked aloud. The librarian replied within seconds. Her text read, Door guy's landlord. Not a myth, not a ghost. A tired man with a problem. I showed my dad. He raised an eyebrow that had paid rent in rough neighborhoods. We go, he said. At 2:59 the next day, we walked into the library and found the quiet room. The landlord sat at a table with a stapler and a stack of ordinary files, which itself was the twist. Normal is the best disguise. He was older than hunger, younger than regret, and looked like a teacher you never thanked enough. He said, "You're late." I said, "We're on time." He said that I'm early, a flaw I never fixed. He pushed a thin folder across the table. He said, "You wanted a name? Here's one of mine. Use it carefully. It opens 2 doors and closes 3. My dad didn't touch it. Why? He asked. Because history is an appetite, and I'm tired of feeding it men who think they can't be eaten. You built this, I said. I built a door. Others loved keys. I rented, they feasted, and now I'm old enough to count the bones. You want absolution, the priest said from the doorway, because of course he was there when it mattered. I want inventory, the landlord said. Then whatever comes. What do you want from us? My dad asked. Not a thing, he said. That's how you know I mean it. Eli leaned in. What happens if we use the name? He asked. 2 things, the landlord said. He loses a room, you gain a corridor. Choose your pace. What about you? I asked. He smiled. Small, sad. He said, I go outside. Finally. We took the folder. We didn't open it there. We thanked him the way you thank people who apologize without asking for a receipt. He stood slowly, shook each of our hands, looked at the priest and nodded in a dialect they both understood, then walked out of the library like a man who'd read the last page first and didn't mind the ending anymore. In the car, my dad opened the folder. Inside, a single name and an address that made my skin static. A name that appeared on glass plaques and donor walls and gala programs that pretended to be virtue. A name you'd say out loud without adding allegedly because reputation had trained you. A name that wasn't a consultant's or a Hinge's. It was a door with a welcome mat. We can't just tweet this, I said. We won't. We'll do what we've been doing. We'll show up. We'll bring names. We'll leave when they're tired. We went to the address, a building with manners, a lobby with art that hid in plain sight. A receptionist who said, Do you have an appointment? The way you say, Do you have a parachute? We have a file, my dad said, and set the folder on the counter. Who shall I say is here? She asked. History, the priest said. She blinked, then smiled,
then picked up the phone and said, "They're here," as if it were inevitable and not terrifying. We were led to a conference room with a view that pretended to own a river. The name on the door matched the one in the file. He walked in, shook hands, measured my father, measured me, measured the priest, measured her, measured Eli last, and miscalculated, which is what saved us. He said, "I hear you have questions," and my dad said, "No, we have names."
He sat. "Names are easy," he said. "Stories are hard." "Not today," I said. "Today the story is one line long. You stop." He smiled, trained. "Stop what?" "Renting doors to men who eat houses," the librarian said from the doorway, because she had followed us, like integrity does. She set a small recorder on the table, pressed a button, and sat. "Coffee?" she asked. "No? Good. Then let's work." He didn't laugh this time. "You can't move me," he said. "We don't have to," my dad said. "We just have to move the floor." We didn't shout, we documented. Not with accusations, with questions that wore dates. Who signed this? Why did this foundation pay that consultant through this shell on that Tuesday? Which clinic lost power for 3 hours after your board voted on governance continuity? Why did a typeface change halfway down this memo? The kind of questions librarians ask, nurses insist on, priests bless, carpenters understand, fathers learn, sons deploy, and women who refuse to be currency turn into razors. He deflected. He denied. He grew bored, which is when he made his only mistake. "Do you think you're the first people to try to shame me?" he asked, genuinely curious. "No," my dad said. "We think we'll be the last." He stood. "This is tedious," he said. "You're all very earnest." "And you're very tired," the priest said softly. "You can stop." He blinked, just once. And in that blink, I saw the thing I hadn't expected. A man who wanted out of a mechanism he had mistaken for legacy. He inhaled, exhaled, and said, "I can't." "Then we will," my dad said. We stood, we left. We didn't slam doors because doors have work to do. Outside, the river pretended to be a mirror. We walked to the rail and leaned, all of us lined up like a lesson. "What now?" Eli asked. "We keep showing up," I said. "We keep leaving when we're tired. We keep opening envelopes only when we're ready to carry what's inside." My dad put a hand on my shoulder, then on Eli's. He said softly, "I discovered something terrible about her, and something worse about me, and something better about all of us." "What's that?" I asked. "We can choose the cost," he said. "We just can't choose the biller." My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Glass Voice. "Hungry?" I typed back, "We ate." He responded, "You'll be hungry again." I wrote, "We stocked the pantry." No reply. Not yet. Maybe later, maybe never. We went home. The house didn't change to celebrate us. Houses don't care. People do. We set the velvet box on the mantel next to a photo of nothing dramatic, just the 5 of us at the kitchen table, faces tired and not bored. We didn't smile for the camera. We smiled for each other, and the lens caught it by accident. That night, my dad called me the way he did on Christmas Eve, but softer. "I changed my mind," he said. "About what?" I asked. "About vows," he said. "I can make one." "To who?" I asked. "To myself. And to both of you." "Say it," I said. "I won't be bored again. Not on purpose." "Deal," I said. In the quiet that followed, I heard footsteps that didn't scare me. Not because danger was gone, because we'd finally stopped mistaking control for safety, silence for peace, and history for fate.
The next morning, we woke to small things we had earned. Coffee that tasted like the truth. A text from the clinic with a photo of the waiting room full and calm. A message from the librarian that said, "We moved 3 screws. Your hin squeaks, but it holds." A video from a lie of a door he'd fixed in an old house, the wood strong again where rot had been beautiful. He added a line. "Some things you sand, some you replace, most you carry together." We watched it twice and didn't need to clap. The door closed cleanly without applause. And for once, when someone knocked, we answered without checking the locks twice.